How shall they hear without a preacher? You understand? There's a hearing. He preaches, they hear, and then earlier in verse 14, and it says, how shall they believe in him whom they've not heard? So you understand how you go from the sending goes to preaching, the preaching goes to hearing, the hearing goes to believing, and of course the believing goes to, last of all, verse 14, how shall they call on him? And there's the call. It's a crying out to God. So you have these 5 things, and of course those 5 things bring you back to what? Verse 13, justification. So basically whoever calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. So you understand that he's showing us a divine order, 5 steps to receive justification. And so within this, looking at the divine order, the first one, and so what we're going to do is this, we're going to take it in order. I'm not going to go backwards by starting in verse 14. I'm going to go forwards by starting in verse 15 and moving my way backwards. You understand that? These are the steps, because he said, how can you call unless you believe? And how can you believe unless you hear? How can you hear without a preacher? And how can you have a preacher unless he's sent? So the first thing we do is we see the sending. And this is where we take a look at verse 15. How shall they preach unless they are sent? The first thing that we recognize in this process of really just anchoring in and securing this justification is we recognize that there's a sending. And so where he makes a statement, and I love that, how shall they preach unless they are sent? One of the things that we have to understand about the sending process is this: God initiates the sending process. If you're a note taker, jot that down somewhere. God initiates the sending process. There is a passage, we've covered it in Romans chapter 3, verse 11, where it simply made this declaration: there is none who understands, there is none who seeks after God. And we've covered that already. There's also another psalm, and in Psalm 14, an amazing psalm, but I want to read to you just the first 3 verses, because I just want to show you that basically God has to be the one to initiate this, because no one initiates looking after God. In Psalm 14, the first 3 verses, it makes this statement: the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They have done abominable works. There is none who does good. The Lord looks down from heaven upon the children of men. And then it says this: to see if there are any who understand, who seek God. And then in verse 3 it says, they've all turned aside. They've all together become corrupt. There is none who does good, no, not one.